Mr. Samuels?
Yeah, it seems like just as we were about to go on air, there were some things popping up online. Initially, I think it might have been on Twitter, and then it started appearing in other social media. And they were saying that YouTuber, I think he's an image consultant as well, and he kind of
Mm-hmm.
has found YouTube fame, giving advice to women and to men on dating, and has lots. He's quite a controversial figure, but he definitely started a conversation, for better or for worse, or however you perceived it. And it seems like just a couple moments before we came on, it was confirmed that he had passed away, and that rumor had been floating around for the past few hours, and online, no one had been able to reach him. And so it literally was just confirmed a few minutes ago. So, rest in peace to Kevin Samuels. We never celebrate the deaths of people. Except like Hitler, I guess. But, death actually, it's unfortunate for me. Like, I had some issues, and Andrew and I, we've gone back and forth on this and had conversations, and, we'll probably have more conversations on some of the points, some of his talking points. But I really did think that, as problematic as some of his methods were in speaking with women primarily, I didn't always appreciate like some of the things, his talking points or his tone. But I thought that he had the potential to be a force for good. And that was actually what I found very sad when I heard the news. That's what's sad about the loss of life, is the loss of potential.
Yeah, apparently News One, I think you had mentioned, had confirmed it, that Kevin Samuels had passed away.
Yeah, there were several people who were, colleagues and friends of his within the YouTube community, and I guess the men's, I don't want to call it the manosphere, but, people within that arena. And they'd been trying to reach him as well. And like I said, just a couple minutes ago, a couple of those people finally confirmed it. And they, so yeah, I haven't had a moment to look at the news feeds, but I'm probably going to.
Yeah, I just hit on the Googler, and News One was one that confirmed that he had passed away.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it's very sad for me. I know that he's a polarizing figure. Topics around what he discussed was very polarizing. We'll get into that in the future. Today's probably not the day to get into that specifically. What I appreciated about him was there was one video that he had done maybe over a year ago where he talks about what your father should have told you but didn't. And that was a video that changed my perspective on work and what it meant to be a man and what I need to do as a man. And every guy that I sent that video to thanked me for sending it to them, because they were like, I needed to hear this. And that was why. And so I feel like that's the reason why, even when there are certain things that he says and does that are probably obviously inflammatory-ish or frustrating or not the best worded, I would come to his defense, because I feel like a lot of men's fathers kind of fail them in this regard. They don't tell us certain things that I feel like in that video, he told me in a way that I needed to hear from a man. And that was the video that video definitely changed my life. So to hear now that he's passed, it's very sad. And I wish nothing, my condolences go out to his loved ones and his family. I hope, very sad for me. It's a sad moment because it's almost like a father figure that I lost, in a sense, because there's a masculine energy that I got from him I didn't even really get from my own father, that I appreciated. And I felt like even if you could move past a lot of the tonality of his message, what he was trying to do was bring together relationships in the Black community, specifically men and women getting on a better page. I was hoping, we discussed before, that eventually we was going to get to a point where we would stop the bickering,
banging on women,
and the banging on women. That's the angle, and that's the
salacious
posture that
draw. Yeah,
that's the postures that a lot of women. That's the frustration a lot of women have with him.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate like what you're saying about, you know, how he was almost like a father figure in the information that he was giving regarding men becoming their better selves, you know, pushing themselves outside of, you know, kind of where men have arrived, you know, right now, and saying like, you know, no, do better, be better. That was my major qualm with him. I just felt like he was too focused on women and not focused enough on men. And, you know, but I guess that's where he got the clicks. That's where he got the views, you know, and the approval and the adoration of his male following was that, you know, there were a lot of men out there, unfortunately, that were, although there were good men, you know, good people and good men, I think there were a lot of guys that felt like they realized that they weren't living the life that they should have been. And I believe that some part of them blames women, and they wanted to see women get their comeuppance, as they say, like they wanted to see women be held accountable. But I think for them, the word accountable meant coming down on women, not, you know,
there's a lot of
women to be their better selves. It really was about like, they just wanted to see the women get S-worded on, like they felt like they were being, you know, talked down to by women. Like, I think there were men that were being talked down to, or, you know, hear what women were saying about them, and, you know, these men ain't things like that. And so they wanted to see women get that treatment. And so I really feel like he was starting to make a turn. Like, I had to stop listening to him for a little while because I just found it to be like a little too negative. But I recently started kind of listening again, and it felt like he was turning a corner. And that was why I was actually sad when I heard about that, because I was like, it felt like he was turning a corner. Like, even though some of the things he said, it kind of was a bad thing. You know, maybe it was an overcorrection in, you know, the male-female gender wars. Maybe it was an overcorrection, but I felt like he was about to turn a corner. And I think it could have been for the better, that he could have started coming together with people and women, and addressing men, and, you know, bringing the relationships together.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that he was definitely pivoting. I was listening to a video on YouTube yesterday, and it was about this guy. I think I don't know exactly what he does, but in the video, he was discussing the fact that he plowed snow out of the roads and stuff. I don't know if you saw this video, but it was actually kind of sad. And apparently this woman was stranded in the snow, and he came out with some of his friends, plowed her got her car and her unstuck from the snow. She never acknowledged them. She never said thank you. She drove off and just kept it moving. And he was like appalled. He was just like, what's going on? He was like, he felt like, as a man, he felt like women feel like they don't need men, or except for just things like that, and not even a thank you. And I remember him being like, I have stopped opening doors for women because the last time I did, she yelled at me for opening the door for her. And so when I think about these kinds of incidences, and then the psychological ramifications that may have, when I hear guys that get a kick out of the said treatment that maybe a Kevin Samuels bang on women gives off, is some sort of like, it feels like it makes them feel better in a sense, because they're like, see someone saying something, it's like, it's fucked up. Because, you know, it's true when a lot of guys talk about the world was built by men. It's a very gross, it's a gross statement to say, but it's like, construction is mostly men, you know, plumbing, electrical, dangerous work is mostly men. Building things is mostly men. That car that's constructed that she was in is probably built by mostly men. The tires that were put on the car and all these things are done by mostly men, and she hates men. But her life is convenient because of the things that men have done. So there's like a frustration here. So that's why I remember us talking about how I feel like there is going to be a period right now where there's like a over animated attitude about these kinds of things, whether it's banging on men, banging on women.
Yeah,
so that's
it's
why
like
I was
all
feeling
overcorrection. Yeah.
I was feeling like we're going to circle back to a place where, okay, it's time to like come back together as a unit. We've had our fun, etc. That's what I was thinking or feeling. But yeah.
And I would
so
love
they're
to
gonna
dive into that more, like, you know, in another video.
Yeah. Yeah, there's gonna be more videos of this to come when we have more conversation about these things. And again, today we're just gonna kind of take in the fact that we may have lost Kevin Samuels. It appears to be confirmed by News One that he has passed, and again, that's very sad for me because I feel like I've lost a father figure, and I feel like he was really trying to turn the tables on relationships, and specifically in the Black community between men and women.
I think it's definitely like a lesson for people to, you know, evaluate your life, evaluate your impact on the people around you, you know, even though, you know, he was controversial. I didn't necessarily always agree. You know, I started off like actually a pretty big fan of his. I didn't necessarily agree with all of his talking points, but I do, you know, encourage everyone to kind of like analyze how they're interacting in the world with people. You know, I think it says somewhere in the Bible that you want to get to heaven's gates, and that God says, you know, well done, thou good and faithful servant, you know, and that you look back on, or, you know, as the Egyptians, you would weigh your deeds on a scale. And, you know, if you're, I can't remember, like your soul is like lighter than a feather, or, you know, it was something like that, you know, it had to do with, you know, your impact and what you're doing. But I just hope that he looks back on it and, you know, not with sorrow, you know, no sorrow or regrets. And I think we should all try to live our lives with the least amount of sorrow and regrets. And if there's, you know, and we have to turn this gender war around, we have to start trusting and, you know, being a community of people again. We can't keep fighting forever. So I guess I'll leave it there.
That's true. We also need to start taking a closer look at our health. 53 years old, heart attack, possibly. I've done a couple of videos on this already, and then this is proof positive of what I've been talking about in a lot of my videos about afraid of being healthy and what kind of health choices did he make in his life. We don't know, but very tragic. Well, once again, thank you for joining us in this conversation. This is the first of a series of me and Carmen, Ms. Montgomery, doing different videos. And yeah, so hey, it's your boy Drew, and always remember, smile even when you're not smiling.